if you didn't watch part 1 of the Q&A, this is part 2, so make sure to go watch that. Here's a card up top. But anyways, hi friends, let's continue. There's some more deep questions to answer today. Okay, Mia2Cutie 3013. I don't think that's how it's supposed to be read, but that's how I read it. Says, how come people make fun of people who are different? I love this question. I always talk about this like literally all the time. So basically, in a general like summary, I would have to say that people think like if they make fun of someone who's different or seen as different, it gives them an advantage, and this is somewhat primal, but it's also social. So basically, we have instincts within us that are primal, like passed down in our DNA, because we are human, and this is the type of animal that we are, just like a dog wants to be in a pack, or a wolf wants to be in a pack. If there's something that might seem like it could make them an other and make them outcast from the pack, that would directly harm their survival. And so it's within their instinct to want to follow the leader or what they think is allowed and accepted. And it's the same thing with humans. But if we add in all of the extra social stuff, because we have a very complex range of relating to one another, because like I think a lot of animals do, and insects and all of that. I mean, we haven't learned everything about them, but I think humans, from what we know about ourselves, have a very like intense social structure, like an innate drive to like connect with each other, and I think we've kind of lost that lately, and it definitely stems from like this belief that we have to overcompensate for everything by shoving ourselves in a box. So it's still the same thing, which is interesting. Like, I think everything in life kind of relates in this way. If you feel different, I would say to you, like, make sure to just like own it, because the more you own it and say like, no, I exist, this is how I'm living, I'm here for a reason, this is who I am, and there's nothing that's gonna change that, there's nothing wrong with me, I'm surviving and I'm gonna live my life how I want to, then it proves to everyone they don't have to be as afraid of you, that you're a normal person, you're a strong person, nothing's gonna be wrong with them, they're not gonna die if they're not cis, heterosexual, and white, basically. But anyway, you get what I mean. I think that people make fun of people for being different because they don't want to be made fun of themselves, and they don't want to be outcast from the group or seen as wrong. People want to feel validated and real to others, and they want to be included and accepted and valued, and anything that they think might get in the way of that is scary for them. And so unfortunately, people tend to take it out on other people without realizing that by having compassion, you could be valued by someone who cares for you for who you are, rather than some fake box you've put yourself in. Okay, this is getting serious. Vocal Volcanic says, how do you deal with homophobia? I guess it goes with everything I just said. I'm just basically like, I know who I am, there's nothing that's gonna change that, so that's number one. That's the very first thing you have to remind yourself of if confronted with homophobia, and you don't have to like voice that and put yourself in a dangerous situation, because right now we're at the point where it still could be dangerous, but if you know that in your heart, it's going to show through to the outside, and that already kind of like provides a pretty good barrier. But on top of that, homophobic people have been taught from probably as long as they can remember that that is what they're supposed to do, and that there's all of these negative consequences and all these scary things, and they're gonna go to hell, or they're going to be outcast and it's unforgivable, blah blah blah, all these lies that they've been fed, and therefore they just simply don't understand who you are. They can't put themselves in that type of world or headspace yet. They need education. They need someone to tell them, no, it's okay to be LGBT+. It's okay to be gay, pansexual, bi, trans, any like non-binary. it's okay to be yourself. You don't have to do this. There's nothing wrong with anyone who's like that. Everyone's human, and this is part of human nature. It's represented in all animals. It's represented in history. Of course, those things have been erased, but it's there. There's no denying it. But B1580 said, what inspired you to start your YouTube channel? Originally, I had more health issues that would just tie me to my bed, basically, because I was too sick to get up. Well, a lot of things would happen, but anyway, I didn't think I'd ever make it past that, but I've always wanted to have a YouTube channel since I was like 12, and there are old videos somewhere out there, if you wanted to find them, of like me trying to do that in the past. I just always was never confident enough in myself to do that. But around 2 years ago, when I finished figuring everything out about my gender identity and decided to transition and talk to people in my family and all of that, I felt like it was the best time to start it again, because all of a sudden I had a new perspective on like my future. Like things seemed open and I could talk about things again, so it's the best time for that. But I also really like YouTube and YouTubers and comments and the culture of it, I guess. Not the like weird drama part, like I don't really care about those things, but I like the aspect where it feels like we have a community from so far away, a global community. We can talk to each other and relate to each other without knowing each other, like personally, face to face. I think that's amazing. I'm Blue says, do author-chan is gay? Francis says, were any of your characters strongly based off of yourself or someone you know? Kind of talks about what I said earlier. And no, I think, like a lot of people think that Tyler was based off of me, but Tyler is more just like that mentality, like I mentioned earlier. I think Casey has more of my personality, but it's hard to say because I'm not like a dead ringer for any of these people. But other than that, I think a lot of it was just based off of a combination of things I've experienced and people I've met along the way, because I like hearing what other people have to say. I like figuring out other people's reactions to things, so hence they're a nice melting pot of people. Rooney Finn says, how old are you? How old are the characters? How long will the comic last? I'm 22. Mini life crisis there, sorry. My characters are, let's see, they're like 20. Yeah, almost 21. And how long will the comic last? Yeah, about that, I don't know. It might last, well, let me think about this. Because I have this part of chapter 5 and it's posting twice a week and it's... Well, I'm pretty sure it'll go until like December, but don't take my word on that. I have to figure out how many extra chapters I'm gonna add in the end or not, because group that in or do like, you'll see. You'll see. That's enough information. It's going to at least go to December. That's what I mean. There you go. Danny asks, what do you use to make an episode? Right now I'm using Art Studio. Love your art style. Thank you. What do I use to make an episode? I use Clip Studio Paint EX currently, and I got that a long time ago, but if you want something that you only have to pay once, unless they changed the subscription and I didn't know, but if you want something really good for comics and you only have to pay once, then buy Clip Studio Paint every, like, I think every season, like every 4 months or so, they have a really big sale. I'm not sponsored by them. I wish I was, but I just like to tell any artists that want to do digital art, because it combines like a bunch of different programs, and without that program, I wouldn't have been able to first practice digital art before I was good at art. Yeah. So I hope that helps. Lucifer the Raven. That is a pretty badass name. Says, what? Oh, that's not part of their name, but anyway. Also, what do you identify as so I don't misgender you and can complain to my friends that you are literally my parent? I read that with a voice crack because you saw. I use he, him pronouns. And I identify as a trans guy. Silver asks, how did you figure out your gender? As I'm currently struggling with my gender. P.S. I love your comics and how much effort you put into everything. Thank you. Oh my god, my voice cracked. How did I figure out my gender? Well, that was like, it's more of like a journey. I'd say like a lot of things had to happen before I could figure things out, but researching things and like learning about it and seeing people who have similar experiences to you to show that you're not unusual in this way, I think could help anyone figure out anything about their identity. Because really, we're all human, and if you're experiencing it, it's most likely something someone else has also experienced, so you're not alone in that. But I figured out my gender because I was wondering why whenever I would ship people in movies, I would want to be the guy. It was also in comics and manga and like yaoi. But not like in a sexual sense as much as just like a cute relationship. Like, aw, why can't that be me? Like, it was this deep sadness within me that felt buried under layers and layers and layers that I had to painstakingly uncover. And that is how I figured it out. But yeah, no, I don't want it to seem like a bad thing. I'm mostly joking. It just took time and patience, and ultimately what I had to do is just accept myself as not weird. And the very first time that I said that I was trans to someone, I think that is when I fully realized it, because you know how you have anxiety when you're gonna tell someone something? It's like when I go up on stage, for example, like I used to do this for dance and everything, I wouldn't get nervous because I was confident in myself and I knew it would be true to myself. But when I told someone that for the first time that I was trans, it didn't feel weird coming out of my mouth. It felt normal and natural. Even though it was kind of like a weird concept, it just felt like acceptance, if that makes sense. So if there's any type of like relief or just anything that could make you feel better about it, then hopefully that helps you find acceptance within yourself. Because if you can accept yourself, then it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. And on a similar note, Monique Castro says, why is it so hard for me to find out what I am, like my sexuality? And I think maybe part of that is just based off of experience, or you just haven't heard of whatever term to describe your sexuality is. Like, a lot of people don't know that asexuality exists, or that you can be aromantic, or that you could be demi-romantic, or pansexual, or polysexual, or anything like that. So if you're looking to answer something like that, I think start with those sorts of things. I guess what helped me originally, like for example, before I could figure out my gender identity, I couldn't figure out my sexuality because I also had a lot of internal homophobia. I obviously was not homophobic towards anyone else because my sibling came out before me, but I obviously accepted them. But at the time, I just didn't understand why it would be okay for me to like more than one gender, and that's basically where my confusion started. So perhaps, I keep saying perhaps, maybe it's the same for you. Yeah, but I ended up figuring out that I am pansexual, and I'm not bothered by saying that. I know a lot of people are super judgmental about even being bisexual, and then pansexual people are like, what the fuck is that? But yeah, obviously I accept non-binary identities. I'm not bothered by what you identify as. If I am attracted to you, then I'm attracted to you, and that's why I decided that definition made the most sense for me. But a lot of the time this stuff is confusing for a long time, and this just goes in general sense, like gender, sexuality, and just sometimes figuring out your own voice and your own path in life. It takes time and experience. So even though it can be kind of intense or overwhelming or frustrating sometimes, please know that things will happen in the right time, and don't give up. I know that there's good things out there for you, even how dark or dismal things seem. Life is kind of weird in that way. Things happen that you don't expect to happen, or things turn out to be for a weird reason. I'm getting too deep. We should stop. This was supposed to be a funny Q&A that has turned into something else. But I know that a lot of people out there need a lot of support for like things that are LGBT related. So if you have any other questions that you'd like me to answer, this channel isn't dedicated to that necessarily, but I'm always open to talking about it because obviously I've talked about it a lot just naturally, like not without intending to. But I hope that answered some of your questions about either me or the comic or life, LGBT things, and I hope that you are having a good day and that I can see you again soon. Please make sure to leave comments down below about what you think about my weird name for you that just came out of my head just like my comic. That's how things go. And tell me what else you think, if this brought up any memories or experiences. I love hearing from you. So I'll see you again soon, and I hope you're having a good day. Bye.